जयपुर वाया कोटा।
कृपया ध्यान आपो अहमदाबाद
दिल्ली में आपका स्वागत.
Lucknow Junction.
ನಿಲ್ದಾಣದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೊರಟಿರುವರೆ
Hyderabad Bhattacharjya Express পরবর্তী স্টেশন নেতাজি ভবন कृपया ध्यान दियो.
It's old-fashioned to spend a Saturday night with some cool people, is what I was told. Until I met two gentlemen who are in the studio, very much young at heart, young by age as well. One, because of his racketeering skills, is very jolly, and the other is Polly. How about that for wordplay, sir?
Jolly and fun.
No?
Okay, good, great. It's Saturday evening, so yes.
Anything
And
goes.
Anything goes.
Anything goes.
Easy. Right. It's raining in Kolkata. Now, the IPL is, of course, a season of good cheer. We're all waiting to see table toppers KKR take on the Mumbai Indians. There's already that E next to their name. KKR, if they win tonight, they will have that first cue. They are the flavor of the season this year. They're playing at home, a venue where MI have terrific numbers. Overall, head-to-head, 23-10. MI have won 7 out of 10 here at the Eden Gardens. Now, more than KKR doing well, gentlemen, the conversation on social media and elsewhere is, what's wrong with MI? I'm sure the two of you who've watched the IPL very closely can write a book on what's wrong with MI. So what's wrong with MI?
Well, I mean, obviously the change of captaincy wasn't ideal. I think it obviously had an issue with regards to the dressing room and how everything. If they had managed to win, I mean, but they started off with those 3 losses.
Yeah.
If you had managed to win, everything probably would have settled itself down, but it didn't manage to do so. I think also selection-wise, I mean, we'll maybe touch a little bit later on, Joy, on the fact of what happened at the last big auction.
Yep.
The players that they kind of released, the players that they bought. But it's just been down to performances. I mean, it's still on paper when you look at that side, you think quality batting lineup. Bowling, besides Bumrah, maybe a little bit to be desired, even from on paper. You know, I mean, when you look at some of those bowlers, I mean, as I say, Bumrah's good. Charla, I mean, he's experienced. Nuan Tushara, I think that took too long to get him into the mix, personally. And then they're relatively inexperienced. You've got Gerald Coetzee and Parker, Luke Wood. Well, I mean, they're making their way in their careers, but they're not kind of standouts, if you want to put it that way. It's not kind of Mr. Dependables like they've had in the past. Someone like a Trent Bolt, for example.
After winning their first in 2010, I think it was, they haven't had to wait this long. This is their longest run without silverware. And now, after that mega auction, it's just not looked good for them. Their last title came in 2020. Can we look at MI's struggles? Is it a fallacy? Is it a mistake to look at their struggles from what they've done this season? Or is there a deeper rot, maybe mistakes that they made at the auction?
I think you have to go back a bit because, their first title was in 2013.
Yep.
And then they win 2013, 15, 17, 19, 20. So, like...
Yeah, sorry, not
really,
10. 30,
yeah, absolutely. They dominated. They did reach the finals in 10.
10,
absolutely. Yeah. But, the point of it is, I totally agree with you. I think the situation, the way you're looking at the situation and the kind of team that they are in a lot of trouble. A lot of those things go back to that 22 auction. And I think one of the things that you look at is who they retained, who they didn't retain. Obviously, they didn't retain at that point Hardik Pandya.
Yep.
But that was a very tough decision, and you look at it and you look at the players that they retained. Rohit was their captain. So they had to retain Rohit. Rohit was their main player. And after that, it's a choice between 3 players, basically.
Yeah.
There's a Bumrah, there's a Suryakumar Yadav, and there's a Hardik Pandya.
Yeah.
I mean, take Kunal after that, a notch below that. So if you look at those 3, you'd say 2 of them will be retained. Now, we also don't know whether they even gave the option to Hardik to be retained as a 3rd player. They might have. And Hardik might have said, I don't want to stay as a 3rd player because, it is 16, 12 and 8 crores for player 1, player 2 and player 3. So he might have said that, any of the 2 expansion teams, I'll definitely be one of their top 2 picks. I'll be going for double that money. Why should I stay?
Yeah.
So that's one part of it. But I think the crucial one is, they did a couple of things which sounded like very interesting ideas, but they ended up investing too much in it. So one of the things they did was they went after the England fast bowler, Jofra Archer. And they thought that Jofra Archer was not playing in 22, but he was there for 23 and 24. And they thought they'd sneak in a bid at 2 crores for Jofra Archer, sit on him for a year. How does it matter? He's going to be there in 23, 24. Even if he comes 2 seasons, he's great for them.
Yeah.
A couple of other teams with the same idea. So instead of playing 2 crores, they paid 4 times that. They paid 8 crores for Jofra Archer. Now, who was bought, who they released was bought for 8 crores in that auction.
Bolt?
Trent Bolt for the Rajasthan Royals, 8 crores. Okay. And that's a perfect example of, what I'm saying. One bird in the hand is better than a bird in the bush. Here, the bird was not even in the bush. The bird was coming to the bush next year.
Yeah.
And this bird was in the hand. So I think that's one of them. Then, we can look at Ishan Kishan and who they bought at about
14 CR, 15
15.25 crores. So that also we can look at. So there are a lot of things out there which you can examine and say that perhaps everything didn't work for them.
Now, Shaun Pollock, who's spent about half a decade in different roles at MI, knows a thing or two about the psyche. They are a proper corporate. They take really hard calls in their business. Are they likely to do that with MI? MI don't like losing, and losing like this. This is the third time they've been eliminated before playing their last game. Do you see dramatic changes before the mega auction happens, or at the auction, or do you see them still continuing with their belief in Hardik Pandya? Should they? Will they?
Yeah, I don't think they'll give it away after just one season. I mean, if you bring a person in, you've got to give them a bit of a time to settle in. I think the retention, they'll definitely keep Surya, or they'll try and keep Surya, and they'll try and keep Bumrah. And then who else they go after that, I'm not too sure. But they will not be happy. I mean, it's 4 seasons now. So I think it was fifth, last place, snuck into 4th, and at the moment they're sitting down at the bottom of the table. So they will not happy at all. I mean, they thrive on success. They've done well for an extended period in this RPL. So there'll be a lot of meetings. There'll be a lot of discussion about what they can or can't do. And I would expect quality personnel to be picked up next time. I think they'll understand that they can't just leave it up to 1 or 2 individuals. It is a team game.
Yeah.
And you need to have the right balance in your side.
They don't clearly think short term. As a business group, they have the ability to take losses in the first 1, 2 or 3 years of any new business. Is that likely to be their philosophy with Hardik Pandya as well?
I think their philosophy with Hardik Pandya is they've invested a whole lot in this move. And they've already, if you look at it, the chances are extremely unlikely that Rohit Sharma will return. Whether he retires or whether he goes to some other franchise for a couple of years, the chances are unlikely that Rohit will return. Let's be clear about that. And that, whether it's his body language, whatever is going on, that I think we can say clearly. He wouldn't want to play 1 more year under somebody else's captaincy. Now, my point, therefore, is that the crucial part of that decision will depend on the other two.
Yeah.
So, if Bumrah and Surya Kumar Yadav are okay playing with Hardik leading, I think Hardik remains. And I think they say, okay, this is our core. Let's start finding the players to add to this core.
Yeah.
And it's a very strong core as well. Those 3 players, take Surya. If they can retain Tilak Verma, that's still a very, very strong core of batters. Again, the bowling is a whole new question mark, but there's even one Bumrah is a huge plus in that bowling department as well. So I think that is what you have to turn around and look at. If those two say that, no, we'd rather not play under this captaincy, then I think all bets are off. Then all bets are off.
None of us have spoken to Bumrah, but what's likely to be his opinion? Because I'm sure he fancies captaincy. Would it make sense for him to go into the auction? Or does he say, listen, I'm MI and MI is me? What does he do?
I think he's done really well there. I think he enjoys the surface at the Wankhede Stadium. I think it's one of his grounds he prefers bowling on. I don't know about his aspirations. I don't know that there's aspirations for him maybe to captain.
He's been India captain, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember you did the test match, wasn't it?
Test match,
in Birmingham.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. You'd probably have to get into his mindset, but you can't afford to lose that X factor, particularly from a bowling perspective. So they've got to do everything they possibly can to keep him. I mean, there's very few Bumrahs around. You get some good spinners who may be able to win games, but he's been the seamer that stood head and shoulders above everything else that we've seen on offer.
Yeah.
So they've got to do something. Sky is in a similar kind of vein. He's a quality player and he's really worked out his niche on how to play this T20 format. He also uses the pace and bounce at the Wankhede Stadium fantastically well. I mean, I'm sure he can get runs and I'm sure Bumrah can get wickets elsewhere.
Yeah.
But I think those conditions are suited to them. And I very much doubt that Mumbai, when they've got 2 X-factor players like that, would at any stage allow those 2 to depart.
Now, while it is a serious business, teams are also evolving, team owners are also evolving and maturing. Most of them have, some of them haven't, we won't go there. But the fans' voice, it should matter. But does it matter when teams take these hard calls? Because we all know what the MI fan thinks about this move. Does that ever feature in that decision making?
The truth is it shouldn't. And there's a great gentleman called Yogi Berra. He was a baseball great player and a manager.
Yep.
And he says that if you listen to the fans, soon you'll be sitting next to them. And I think it's a very powerful statement because, see, I think what you've got to do is fans hate continuity, love change, hate change, love continuity, especially players they like. And sometimes they look in the past. Like if you tell a fan that, I'm going to retain, I remember 2016, bring back Yuvraj Singh. For them, the Yuvraj, when they think of Yuvraj, was not the Yuvraj of 2016. It was the Yuvraj of 2007, the Yuvraj of 2011. So that's the thing. Fans are rooted to a certain extent in the past. Or fans are crazily excited about a player who's just promising and perhaps not a solid prospect. So you cannot go by fan decisions. You cannot, okay? And if that had happened, KKR would have never got Gautam Gambhir, for example. So, Saurav Ganguly would have never left Kolkata had it been just a fan decision. So I think you can't listen to fans, but I think you have to listen to, and he said a very important thing. There are 3 bowlers in the IPL, in the history of the IPL, who've been X factors. I mean, if you look at it, all other bowlers, you put them, I'm talking about even leaving aside a Chahal, who's a very good bowler, but there are 3 X factor bowlers. There's Lasith Malinga, there's Sunil Narayan, and there is Bumrah. These 3 bowlers are a different breed of bowler. I mean, even among other bowlers, you take them aside. Surya Kumar Yadav is one of those guys also, an X-factor batter. I mean, he's at a level which is at a different level. I mean, there are lots of good batters, but he's at a different level. He is doing what Head has done for one season.
Yeah.
So those 2 guys, their decision and to retain them would be their first priority. Everything else would be second.
Just wondering if MI have struggled to move on or recover from losing the golden generation, which had Kieron Pollard, it had Lasith Malinga as well. Of course, Rohit Sharma is still there. Bumrah is very much there. Has that been an issue? Has that transition caused a lot of turbulence that they haven't managed to recover from?
Yeah, I wouldn't say turbulence. It's always difficult to replace, players who've been part of a franchise for as long as some of those guys have performed that way. I mean, when you rock up at a franchise and you've been there for many, many years, you rock up, you're comfortable. You know what your role is. You know which hotel you're going to be staying. You know the owners. You know everyone involved. And that's the key, is that they're relaxed, they're calm, they know what they're about to do, and they go and perform. When you get new guys in, you kind of look and you go, okay, well, what's my job here? Where do I fit in? Where am I going to bat? What's this going to happen? I mean, even, for example, the Cameron Green. I mean, Cameron Green was a success last year for them. He averaged, over 50, had a wonderful strike rate, had some good spells with the ball. And when you start seeing that person going out the door, yes, we understand why. Yeah. But it didn't seem like the right release. I mean, I couldn't believe when he had gone. I mean, then you say, okay, well, Pandya's coming back in, so he's going to play the all-rounder role. He can do what Green does. But when guys have had a wonderful year, I'm not that convinced that you can just dispose of them as easily as they did with Cam Green.
Also, you're in a situation, I feel that given how the IPL works, I believe good teams, if you see, especially in their consistent run, they always had their solid base, but after 2013, every once in a while, they started getting fresh injections of new material. A Bumrah came in, Hardik Pandya came in, Kunal Pandya started performing, other people. So what happens is a solid core, but always 1 or 2 fresh faces who give you that, additional. Then a Surya came in 2019. So somebody or the other has come in and given them a boost. Yeah. Ishan has come in, Kishan has given
Surya
them a boost.
came in 18.
QDK gave them a boost. Yeah. So all of these players have come in and performed at some point in time. And I think that's a great franchise does that. That basically a solid set, which sort of keeps you continuity and a base. And then adds some injections of exciting new talent, which sort of stirs up things a little but doesn't change everything, as he said. Yeah. So the basics remain the same, but there's a little bit more fizz to that game.
I think also your internationals need to be profile internationals. I mean, even say you've got a Tim David. Okay, is Tim David in the top 5 of a selection for the Australian side? No, he probably comes in way down the list. Gerald Coetzee, Tissara. Tissara I like, actually. I mean, I think that's one of the ones they should buy back because of that different action. But it just doesn't, if it doesn't jump out of you like a A.B. de Villiers or Chris Gale or Lasith Malinga or Kieron Pollard, not quite the same mojo.
There is one absolute bona fide superstar. He has been the talisman for the Mumbai Indians. And for that, man, we need our experts to give us the coolest advice, powered by Crompton Air Coolers. Jaldi cooling is what the former captain and a man they refer to as Mumbai Raja, Rohit Sharma, needs. Now, for him, it's been a story of two halves. In the first 7 matches, he has been showing glimpses of the old, a pretty good average as well, a century against CSK in a losing course. But in the last 5 games, he's looked a bit lost. Maybe there's too much on his mind. What's gone wrong for Rohit, and how does he get himself out of that rut?
Yeah, we were saying the other day, maybe it was kind of timed in the same time as he had to sit down, pick the Indian side, go to the press conference, release the team, explain all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So those captaincy pressures were back on his head.
Yeah.
But for me, I wouldn't change much. I think what we saw from him in the World Cup, in the 50-over World Cup, was fantastic starts.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't get maybe as many runs as other people,
Yeah.
but he got them off to flyers, and that was vitally important to their success. His approach will need to be the same in this T20 World Cup. The first 2 games against Ireland and Pakistan are vital, that he gets the team on the front foot. And then after that, I mean, I think USA and Canada could be a statistician's dream come true about how many records are broken there. And then you're ready for the rest of the tournament. So I don't think he needs to temper his approach. I think it is the kind of style he has to show. I think you've got some quality batters in that top 6. And his job will be to try and get them off to a flyer.
His first IPL 100 was at this very venue. He's won 2 IPL trophies, played a final here. In fact, 2 of them won the trophy. Average of 46.2. The Eden Gardens and Rohit Sharma are a love story like no other.
Exactly.
There might be a test knock thrown in there as well.
Test 100 as well,
Yep.
I think, on debut.
On debut.
Yeah, 2013.
Something.
Yeah.
13.
That should help, right?
Absolutely. He just has to turn around and say, okay, that's the Oberoi Grand. That's where the Maidan is. That's the Mohan Bagan ground. That's where the river is. That's the Hooghly River. This is where I'm used to batting and just stand out there. That 2012 innings, I remember especially because, I mean, you asked Gautam Gambhir about it because, you know, he said it recently, but that was the one thing we knew. There was no other batsman he used to worry about. Gautam Gambhir never worried about Chris Gale, about David Warner, about any of these guys.
Yeah.
The one guy he'd say that the day he gets going, nothing. And seriously, he hit a century, he batted, and I think we were chasing after that. He looked in a different class. Everyone else was like struggling to time the ball. He was hitting centuries. It's effortless batting. So it's a ground, and it's not just the ground. It brings out something in him which is very special. He just had to say, this is the Eden Gardens, and I'm Rohit Sharma.
Yeah.
That's all.
There's one template that's often talked about on cricket shows when it's Rohit Sharma versus left-arm pacers. They say he struggles. Yes, the numbers do tell a story. But he's also scored runs against like Spencer Johnson, Jaydev Unadkat. If it is an issue for him, do you suggest maybe a technical tweak, maybe an open stance? What does he do?
Yeah, I mean, technically, he's obviously more suited to dealing with right-arm seamers that kind of shape it away.
Yeah.
It comes into his arc. He's able to go over cover and he can pick up the pick-up pull. With the left-handers, I mean, you think of his good shots as obviously, as I say, through the covers offside, and it's that back of a length one that he helps on its way.
Yeah.
With a left-hander, that's kind of going across you. So it's not as easy as to play that kind of shot. To pick it up, there's a chance that on the angle, you can just pop it up in the air. And then also he's conscious about closing that front foot, getting out LBW. So it's a smart decision if you've got a decent left-hander to try and attack him. You know, all of us are susceptible to certain kind of, you know, some guys like spin going away from them, others don't like spin coming into them. And I would say that his technique is probably going to be asked more questions against the left-arm seamer. But I wouldn't read too much into it, particularly this T20. I mean, you clear your front leg after 2 or 3 balls. You know, is it swinging? No. Okay, here we go. And then you look to whack it from there. He has got out to them. And there's been a few leading edges that have been involved in that. But I don't think it's a massive issue. But from a team perspective, an opposition's perspective, you definitely to try and make it an issue.
Ultra aggressive is Rohit Sharma's other name.
You bring a left-hander in and you say, okay, boys, we've watched the footage. We've seen him get out a few times, left-handers. Let's see how he goes today. Just to throw something into the head, you know, to try and make him think about it.
But he has the ability to make video analysts look stupid, right? With his ability.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt about it at all. And as I said, everyone has a certain weakness. That doesn't mean that weakness works against them every time. I mean, there are very few like that. I mean, his record against Sunil Narayan is quite an interesting record in the sense that Sunil Narayan's got him out, I think, 10 times. But, you're also talking about 2 players who've been playing each other for the last 12 years.
Yeah.
So they've played a lot of matches against each other. So again, you've got to count all that in. As I said, that for Rohit Sharma, forget the technical issues. Every batter has technical issues. It's a question of the day and your first 2-3 shots going. I think for him, it's just to clear his mind, He's got a World Cup. And this is a very good situation for him because there's nothing that he can do right now other than for honor and prestige. Now, there's no qualification at stake right now. So he can bat easy, he can bat with a free mind, let him bat.
Some are saying regain form in Kolkata, forget about the rest of the IPL, fly to the US straight from Kolkata. Just go to USA in that zone because runs from Rohit Sharma is crucial not just for the Mumbai Indians but for the Indians as well. The captain will be leading the country in a couple of weeks from now at that T20 World Cup. Well, that was the coolest piece of advice from our experts, but we've also got some of our viewers sending in some really cool pieces of advice. Let's take a look at them. Just two of them, one on Twitter, on X rather, and the other on Instagram. This one's from the Gram. This one comes in from Rehan Bhagwan. My advice to KKR will be to play Venkatesh Iyer at number 3 today. His record against MI is very good with hashtag coolest advice. Let's go to the other one. That one's coming from Mitesh Mahajan. Says, attack Rohit and Ishan with bouncers as they both try and hit pull shots. Quick wickets and automatically the pressure will go on Surya and Tilak. No shortage of advice. What do you make of that? Bouncers to Rohit and Ishan?
Not so sure about that one. I'm not
Bouncer
so sure.
to trouble Rohit?
A good bouncer to most batters is pretty effective, but I mean that kind of looks like advice that you're supposed to pepper them with bouncers, and I think Rohit Sharma might make those couple disappear.
Maybe it's an MI fan doing the double bluff.
Well, I suppose Mitchell Starc's got the pace, hasn't he? I mean, if anyone's going to bowl a quick bouncer, that's the left-hander, but I think he'll be trying to back his new ball skills of shaping it into the stumps and trying to trap them in front. So maybe they'll pepper them with one. But I don't think an onslaught would be the right idea. And Venkatesh Iyer's done very well. He was good again in Mumbai. He was actually
70. He was the guy who got a 70.
Yep. You guys and girls watching us on Cricbuzz Live, you can pepper us with your different pieces of advice, funny, quirky, insightful, tactical, technical, whatever. Bring him in with hashtag coolest advice. You can you must also tag Crompton India on X and on Instagram. Now, Cricbuzz Live is a very democratic platform. We like to get views and advice from our viewers. And, we've got a few questions coming in. Let's take the first one with hashtag Ask Cricbuzz. This one comes in from Sushan Modi. Says, not much has been spoken about Shreyas Iyer's captaincy. With Kolkata placed at number 1 on the points table, I'd like to know what the experts have made of his captaincy. Now, firstly, reactions on that one?
Yeah, I agree. Because too much is made about, I mean, it's fantastic. Gautam Gambhir's been there. He's been an absolutely fantastic mentor. I'm sure he's got a large part in making sure that, somebody like Sunil Narayan's opened. It's really worked out. But you can't do that without the captain. And that's the truth of it. You can't do that without the captain. You can't do that without both of them working totally in sync and doing it together. And as I told you, we know that they have a relationship. When Gautam Gambhir gave up the captaincy of the Delhi Daredevils, it's Shreyas Iyer who picked up on that. Yeah. So I think the Delhi captains were there then? No, I think they were the Delhi captains by then. Yeah. But so that's what I'm saying. They do have a relationship out there, and it's important to have that relationship and therefore sometimes a smart captain listens to his mentor. That's also being smart captaincy. And the person who's driving all the fielding changes and all the bowling changes is the guy on the field. So definitely, if they're 8 and 3, you have to give him a lot of credit.
Now, Joy in the past has told us that there are 3 kinds of teams. One is an owner's team, the other is a coach's team, and the third is a captain's team. Whose team is KKR?
I don't know. You'll have to tell us, Joy. I think it's got to do with coaches and captain together. I think there's a combination going there. I agree with Joy with the point. I think the key to their success has definitely been the opening attack. Yep. And there's not much a captain has to do with that. You send them out and whatever they get is fantastic. Because as a captain, you can't really control much about what happens in the batting department. He has to produce himself when he does get to the crease. But the key is when you're in the field, now you're in charge. The captaincy, what bowlers you use, what fielders you put in what positions, what changes you make. And I think the key to him is he's been able to marshal those 2 spinners in the middle overs brilliantly. They've done a decent job in the power play. They've used their skills as best they can. Mitchell Starc starting to find his own feet. But for me, the way he's used those spinners, if it's gone out of control in the power play, he's brought one of them in. Chakravarti sometimes comes in at the back end and has managed to hold or pick up a wicket. But they really have bossed those middle overs with those 2. And I think that's the key to why they've performed so well.
Has the team made Shreyas look good, or has Shreyas made the team look good?
It's never one way.
Yeah.
It's never one way. I think it's both. I think he's done well with them. And look, he's had a couple of bad games as well. I mean, there were days in those 2 matches against Punjab, I mean, the bowling absolutely disappeared. And, you have to give part of the blame to him, part of the blame on the bowlers, but they've come back, and that's really important. And I think that's the other thing that they didn't get anything from last year.
Yeah.
Harshit Rana and Vaibhav Arora have really given them a lot. As the pacers. In fact, when Stark has gone, those two have still performed, and Harshit Rana has held his nerve to win a match for them in the final over against, the likes of Klassen. So we are talking about them holding their nerve also. So you've backed young bowlers and they've come good for you.
Yeah.
And it's a very interesting thing because in 19, when KKR came back, they had backed 3 young boys. One of them was Shubman Gill.
Yeah.
The other 2 was Kamlesh Nagarkotty and Shivam Mavi.
Yeah.
But both those kids, thanks to a combination of injuries and poor form, never gave them what they expected. These 2 bowlers are giving them that.
Let's pull out a little bit. What's the best way to judge a captain? Is it purely just trophies? Or do you look at whether a captain is able to use players in a certain way? Or do you judge a captain on how he builds a team for the future?
If you've got a team of superstars, then you judge it on trophies, there's no doubt. But you've actually just got to look at what your skills and what the abilities of your players are. If you've got, you talk about certain captains. For example, people used to say Stephen Fleming, great captain. Why? Because his resources, they weren't overly great. They didn't have thousands of batters or unbelievable talent in that New Zealand side. But what they did is the players that were there, they got them to perform to the maximum of their possibilities and resource. So that's the same thing with the captain in these franchises. We don't know what goes on behind the scenes. There's some captains that are brilliant behind the scenes. They'll go and have a coffee with someone, explain to him what they want from him, where they feel like he's going wrong, how he can be better. There's other captains who'll go and build players up to reach heights that you never thought they were capable of. So it's always difficult to identify that strength from here. Yeah. But what we can see is the tactics that are used on the field. When guys are introduced, when bowlers are put on to perform, how he sets certain fields for them. And that's where you can gauge. And I think he's done well. When the pressure's on, when you're under the pump and the opposition are putting you under pressure, like what's your mentality? What's your facial features? Are you bringing a calm to the team? Are you thinking clearly enough to get the right guys on? So from what I've seen so far, when they've won as many games as they have, you've got to say he's doing a lot right.
Joy for you?
No, absolutely. I was just thinking about, when you're talking about it, about the great captains of IPL history. And of course, the easy ones jump out. Rohit, But Rohit's most impressive performance was getting them to 4th place
last year, yes.
If you look at that team, they didn't have a bowler, no Bumrah there, nothing. They managed to crawl their way into 4th place. So that's that. Of course, the other huge, amazing piece of captaincy was Shane Warne in season 1.
Yeah.
Taking that team to the title in 2008 was
Call it the Moneyball team.
Yeah, the Moneyball team. So, you have great captains, and I think that's what you've got to look at captains. It's not just about winning trophies. It's about taking sides, and sometimes those sides also win trophies. But taking a side like Mumbai was last year to the Final Four was for me a triumph of captaincy.
Right, it's been a fascinating conversation with these 2 gentlemen, one former KKR, one former MI, and I'm sure we're all much richer thanks to the insights that they've offered. But we do often, in fact, always wait for Joy to give us Joy Factor. By the way, the covers are still on, so we don't have an update on the toss, so we'll get Joy to give us today's Joy Factor.
Okay, this was a bit of classical history involved, classical Greek history. Okay, not history actually, more mythology. Which former international skipper who has also led a side in the Indian T20 League is nicknamed after one of the main characters of the Greek epic, the Iliad? The Iliad it is, so Homer wrote the Iliad. So
as always, it's Greek to me, sir.
I had the right answer until we went to Greek. And then once I was thinking, former international captain, coached a franchise.
Captain
of franchise. And he's got a nickname. Those 3 were easy. And then...
Is it Googleable?
Not that easy to Google.
Okay, start the clock. I want to see how long it takes these guys to give us the answers. I'm always intrigued. Is it 30 seconds? Is it 2 minutes? Is it 5 minutes?
See, there's a party. It's called the Joy Janta Party. It's not a political setup, but it's a get together of a lot of quizzing enthusiasts, and he is their superhero. They have his photograph in their bedroom. They pray to Joy every day. And some of those youngsters will have the answer in a flash, in 5 seconds. Such is his impact on Cricbuzz.
And their understanding of the way he quizzes.
Yeah.
No, the point of it
They
is
stalk
that
him.
one of the reasons why I don't give too many easy questions is because they're so good that it's almost insulting to them. I mean, in 5 years, there's been once that I haven't got an answer.
Huh,
5
what
years
was the
just
question? Hit me with it.
I mean, I cannot tell you the exact phrasing. Basically, the phrasing was what was common to Sourav Ganguly's, I didn't even say Sourav Ganguly, the 1990 Ranji Trophy final in India. And there was a test match which was played, which was Steve Waugh's debut test. And what was common to them was, in both cases, one brother was replaced by another brother in the match. So Steve Waugh
No one got it.
Mark was replaced by Steve Waugh, and Sneshish Ganguly in the final was replaced by his brother Sourav Ganguly. That's the toughest question I've asked. It's the only one that was not answered.
Wow. We have entries coming in already. Our Twitter mentions are buzzing right now. But we shall reveal the answer at the end of our broadcast tonight. Will there be a game? I hope there is. At this stage, though, there is no news on when the toss shall happen. What we will do is take a bit of a breather here because Polly and Joy need to have their cup of tea. Maybe some idli, medu vada. Some nice evening snacks which are always offered to us here on Cricbuzz. So we'll get going and we'll see you again as soon as we have news about the toss. Bye-bye for now.
Jaipur via Kota.
कृपया ध्यान आपो अहमदाबाद
दिल्ली में आपका स्वागत
ನಿಲ್ದಾಣದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೊರಟಿರುವರೆ
Hyderabad को 50 एक्सप्रेस পরবর্তী স্টেশন नेताजी भवन कृपया ध्यान दें